All right, well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to another Mornings with Marit. And today, of course, is about finding and attracting talent. So glad to have you all here. Hope you're having a great summer. Hasn't been too hot in Texas, so that's great. Just a reminder that we do have a Facebook page that's available. So if you all want to join us, please get on that. We probably need to get a little bit more interactive than we have in the past, but we do have a spot that you can follow things and pay attention to the different conversations. And we're still looking for new ideas for the next session. So I haven't quite defined that yet. So if you want to pop some ideas in, we'd love to hear it. So today we have Ben Patterson. I know, Ben, you love having pictures of yourself popped all over the place. So thank you for joining us today. Ben's in Dallas. We're going to learn a lot about Ben today. And I know we've got a lot of your colleagues have joined across the state. So happy to have you. Ben, before we get into this, I have a little tiny surprise for you, and that is this picture. And I don't know if you remember what that is. Remember that?
It is. Absolutely, I remember that.
So this is Ben's daughter. This was probably within 30 days of my joining IIAT, and it would be 6.5 years ago, Ben, when this picture was taken. And we did it just to be your daughter. Can you tell us a little bit about what was going on that day at the Capitol?
Absolutely. So the reason she was in the Capitol that day is she had the opportunity to serve as a legislative page for the state rep that's here in the Richardson area that I've gotten to know over the years and actually work closely with on economic issues and so forth that affect Richardson. But the reason she was invited to be a legislative page is because she went and knocked doors with me on a Saturday morning whenever she was facing a re-election opponent. And so she was so appreciative of, at the time, I guess she was probably 12 or 13, of having a 12 or 13-year-old go knock doors, that she invited her to come down to Austin and serve as a legislative page. And so that was a fun day for her and for me, proud day for me. And to fill some of the time before she was supposed to show up at the Capitol, we decided to stop in and see our friends at the state association, right? And so that's when she was sitting in your chair in your office, Marit.
Yeah, I thought you'd like that picture. And I didn't want to show it to you in advance, but I wanted to see your happy face when you got a nice little memory.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Special memory.
Yes. All right. Well, let's see, Matt, I'm just going to check that you can see us properly because I think I got rid of the pictures. Is that working okay for camera?
Yep. We see both of y'all.
Okay, great. So Ben, thanks for joining us. Can you give us a little bit of background on your agency and how big it is and where you are in Dallas, and kind of just a quick recap for us so we can get some context?
Sure. Agency was started by my father in 1983, and I joined in August of 1996. So my 25-year work anniversary here is next week, as a matter of fact. I was the 5th employee that joined the firm, and since that time, as an agency, we do more on a monthly revenue basis than what we were doing on an annual basis back in 1996. And so when I joined the agency, I was just a young kid out of college that just wanted to dedicate myself to becoming a professional, and chose to pursue insurance first and see if it would be a fit. Look back 25 years later, say it's a fit, and is one that's been a rewarding career for me. I took over running the agency during the Great Recession in 2008, and so that was like being thrown in the deep end. And then I took over as at the title of being president in 2012, and then began buying out partners. And so anyway, here we are, 2021. I was the 5th employee to join in 96. I look at the roster now, we have 41 employees. We're located in Richardson, Texas, which is the first town north on 75 once you come out of Dallas. And we've been in Richardson. Our roots are very deep now, but been in Richardson for all 38 years. And we're considered to be one of the prominent businesses, well-established businesses in Richardson. We have a lot of national companies that are officed here. A lot of insurance too, which is super cool. The building that we're in, we have 3 insurance companies that office here. And so we get to see some familiar faces going up the elevator and down the elevator, which is fun as well. But no, the city people closely connected with state reps here in Richardson. And so just have a really good, rich history as a prominent business now in Richardson.
Very good. Today we're going to talk a little bit, obviously, we're going to focus on producers, but we're also going to talk about other organizations or other types of employees as well. Can you give us a little bit of a mix of what you look like from a standpoint of commercial line, personal line, how many producers you have? I know you have 41 altogether, but can you talk a little bit about that composition?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have 13 producers, and internally we don't utilize producer as the job title. Our sales force is risk advisors, and then we have 10 or 11. I have to go back and double check. Maybe 12 that are on the commercial line side as far as the service side. Account managers, assistant account managers. We have 5 personal lines account managers, and then we have 2 accounting, an operations manager. We have a claims manager, claims liaison that manages and assists with all claims for our clients. Revenue-wise, majority is commercial P&C, and so majority I'd say are commercial employees, commercial-focused employees. And then we do have 2 on the benefits side as well.
Okay, good. I like that you don't use the word producer. Actually, I was talking to somebody this last week who's on the call I can see today, and he was trying to hire for a producer and made the mistake of putting that as the title in LinkedIn. And so he got a whole bunch of camera crew people looking for jobs. So getting the title right when you're out there looking for talent is critical, just so that you attract the right people and not use those terms that tend to be very industry specific and jargon that we're familiar with. So let's talk a little bit about, from your standpoint, where do you tend to find talent? Where do you spend your time networking? How is it that you seem to attract great people? And I want to talk also about sort of your culture and your sales culture that you have that sort of attracts people in and of itself.
Okay. So some of the areas that have been successful for us is I'm still involved with my university, and we stay very involved with other universities. My university, my alma mater, doesn't have an insurance program, but the other universities here locally that we stay connected with, they do have risk management degrees, risk management programs, and so we hire and have hired students out of those programs. Some successful, some not. I am proud to say that one of the graduates from University of North Texas, their risk management program, I was honored to be able to present him with the risk management graduate of the year several years ago, where they honored him as an example of success once they graduated. And so that was very rewarding for me. So we recruit and hire out of those programs. We also award or reward for referrals of people that our staff know that would be good candidates for us to consider, whether it's for a risk advisor role or for an account manager role. At times, we'll also utilize placement professionals. And so all of those things go into consideration. Just staying connected with people with universities and those professors, whether it's the kids that are graduating or it's someone that they've known for a while that's looking for a fresh start in a new career, we get opportunities there as well. And so just the continued network that is the higher education has been an area that has succeeded for us. It has not been 100%, but I think that, in fact, I know Reagan and Marshberry would say that that's impossible and it's not expected. And so we have trended similar to how other independent agencies have fared as far as the success rate on risk advisor hires and development that goes into it. And so, but that really is the big part of what we do. We also have found that the internship program that we have has been a good way of finding motivated talent. And when we find motivated talent, we try to hold on to them. And so we do. And as a community goodwill standpoint, we have had an internship program for high schoolers in the past, but that was more of just helping someone have a summer job. And what we have discovered is finding the kids that are in college that are looking at insurance as a potential career have been where we've been able to place some very highly motivated young professionals and bring them in and develop them. And that's been very rewarding for us to see those people really flourish and pursue their goals and dreams of what they wanted to achieve and what they had identified for themselves as goals whenever they were in college.
Yeah. Yeah, internships are interesting because they're a lot of work. And if they're not planned out well, it can really be a miss for people. It can become not a good experience for the candidate, and it doesn't become something that becomes a career long term. So I think internships are really a careful thing. I always say to people who are interested in internships is you've got to put more work into it than you ever thought on both sides. The candidate who's coming in, you've got to be a go-getter because otherwise you could get stuck at a desk doing nothing because you get forgotten along the way. And so you kind of have to insert yourself into that. Do you all do any assessments when you're hiring that helps you figure out whether people are in a good seat? And I'd be curious to hear what those are. We can talk about some that other people use as well.
We used to use Caliper, and we stepped away from using that as our test, and now use Zero Risk, which is an ERMI assessment. We do it on everyone, and it's not the sole basis for hiring someone or choosing to move on and pass on a candidate, but it does bring an objectivity to an otherwise very subjective process. And so it's something that we do use. Interestingly enough, I don't know what my scenario was, but whenever I did the Zero Risk, the results came back as high risk, and so we don't necessarily lean 100% on it, but we certainly take it as a good caliper as far as just if we have a qualified candidate from a personality standpoint for the particular job role that we're looking to place.
Yeah, good. As you know, we use Colby for all of our hiring. It's Kolbe. We also use Clifton Strengths Finders, which a lot of people use because that hits my job. Some people that are on the call, I know, use DISC as well. So that's a popular one that's out there. I've heard of Zero Risk. I don't know that I've taken that before, but there's some good tools out there. And so I highly recommend for folks when you are hiring, first of all, understand what you're looking for, but then assess against it and trust your process. Because it really can be, I mean, the number of times people make a mistake and say, now that it didn't work out, I go back and look at the report. That's what it told me. And so, pay attention to those cues. To your point, they may not be 100% right, but you will get some good indications in there whether or not it's a good fit from a standpoint of
I will
go
also add,
ahead.
it also gives opportunities for coaching some of those areas of weakness. And that really is a big point of mine, just things that I've observed over the years of my career. You know, one of the things when I was in college of learning how to interview, always be prepared for the interview and always be prepared for the question, give me 3 strengths and 3 weaknesses. And so that is a question I always ask when I interview. And honestly, I could care less about your strengths. What I really want to know are what are your 3 weaknesses? And more importantly, how do you overcome those weaknesses? Identify what your weaknesses are, and then how do you overcome them? And that's one of the things that I really appreciate about the assessment test is it helps identify where you can help coach on what those areas may be that would be either known or unknown by the candidate whenever they enter the role. Hopefully help them have quicker success, long-term success working for us.
Yeah, and I also think it's helpful because, especially to your point about success rates of bringing people in and making the job work, the more you can be accurate about what you should expect and where it may actually burn them out, stress them out, what can you do to make sure that you've covered that and the expectation. So another thing I'll just comment on, if you're in the Dallas area, I know that the Dallas Association, the local association, has a recruiting group that I think quite a few people use as well. And of course, now with people hiring remotely, it doesn't necessarily mean they have to be in your community that you're hiring for. You're just looking for good, great talent. And of course, we have a relationship with Quest Pro, so they've done a nice job for us as well. And then, of course, as a member of IIAT, you can also access Big I Hires, which is part of the National Association. So when people are looking for different tools and resources out there, those are some ones that I would also reference as far as relationships and being very active, on LinkedIn. So I would be curious, Ben, your organization touts itself. You've gotten some great awards and recognitions for being a best place to work in your area. Telling your story, I'm sure, is critical in that being able to attract talent, because it's not just about a paycheck, it's about an experience. So can you talk a little bit about what your culture looks like and how you have that conversation with candidates when you're really trying to figure out if they're going to be a good fit for you long term?
Sure, absolutely. Well, if you go back and you look at what millennials look for, we really built a symbol that identifies our culture that then would appeal to a millennial. So our culture is defined by impact, which is defined, impact being mentorship, professionalism, attitude, community, teamwork. And so we go through that and explain that because we know that the millennial mindset is they want to have mentorship. They want to have an opportunity to develop themselves professionally. They want to be a part of something more significant, which it goes into community. And so we spend time explaining that because not only is it something that's important to a millennial, but it's also important to somebody that is in Gen X. I want to be a part of something that's much more significant. And so community is very important. It's always been very important to me, in addition to the team that I'm surrounded with and how I present myself, not only to my staff, but also to my clients and how others perceive me that may have just met me. Those things are important to all of us. And so it's not just a certain generation that sees that, but the millennials being a huge working force as far as just the number of people that are in that millennial generation that's even split in half. There are 2 segments of millennial based on pretty much the year that they were born inside the millennial generation. really made us kind of step back and say, we really need to define who we are so we can appeal to the right person that will come in and really appreciate who we are as an organization and what we look to accomplish. And not only have we defined that, but the community part of that, that particular committee is run by all millennials, and they help us identify things that we can do for the community as an organization, and then also what we can do for our staff in various celebrations or events that we put on throughout the year as well. COVID has not helped us with that, and so we haven't been able to do as much from a community standpoint, but it still is very, very important for us as an organization.
Yeah, and you make a good point, because I think, that's something that a lot of people have missed the last year and a half, is that being able to be interactive, being with each other. I mean, I always worry sometimes when people say millennials don't want to have relationships and they just want to be technology, and that's not the case. In a lot of places, it's an impact they want to have. And being able to talk about how do you make the world a better place together can really make a big difference in who you're attracting. The other day when we were visiting, Ben, you were also talking about not only are we attracting millennials, but we also have so many generations working in the business with us. Can you talk about how that's helpful to you all and kind of the mentorship models that you use?
Absolutely. In fact, the thing that makes it so compelling to me is when I joined the organization back in '96, there was a generation gap between me as a 21-year-old recent college graduate who had been surrounded by similar age people for pretty much all of my life, between going to school through high school and then who I was surrounded with in college, to then get thrown into the business world and to come in as a 21-year-old and everybody else is in their mid 50s. And I'll never forget coming into that, trying to get established in the insurance business and being associated with good people, but having nothing in common with them. They were going home to their spouse, they were empty nesters, and I was trying to figure out my way of just what I was trying to be as a professional getting started in the business, in addition to establishing a new network of friends and who I wanted to spend time with outside of work. And so that was tough. That was really tough because, getting into the insurance business on its own is a tough thing. And then you also get thrown into where you really are lonely from the standpoint that your coworkers are in a completely different stage of life. And so over the years, as we've grown, having a healthy mix of generations has been something that has been in the back of my mind. Some of it's been more natural in certain positions to as far as placement of age range versus others, but the risk advisor roles, we always look to bring in those that are trying to establish themselves personally and at the same time establish themselves as a known entity in the insurance world. And so that could put them at a point where they're not married, or maybe they're recently married, but just at a stage of life where they're trying to really define who they are, in addition to the support staff. But we have people that are raising their kids. We have people that are celebrating their kids graduating or becoming grandparents. We also have those that are recent college grads that don't have a clue what life looks like, even being married. And so it's a good, healthy mixture of just people in different phases of life, where there are things that I know where people are maintaining connections outside of work just because their life experiences are similar and they want to enjoy friendships that go beyond who they're seeing from 8:30 to 5.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about those relationships as you bring people in and you're establishing mentoring, because I do think mentoring is a great way of creating glue, relationships, and learning. Can you talk a little bit about when you're recruiting, how you talk to people about your plan for their development, what kind of resources you're going to put towards them so they have a picture when they're coming in? Because there are a lot of agencies that bring people in and they kind of get plopped in and they're going to have to figure it out for themselves. And so talking about that process with candidates can be really key, knowing that you're going to have support structure when you get in there and learn the business, because it doesn't happen overnight.
It doesn't happen overnight. It does not. And if you take a step back and think about it, when I say I want you to come to work for me and you accept my offer letter and you come and commit yourself and give your best working years working for me, in essence, what they're having to choose is this the place that that's going to allow me to pursue my dreams and goals? And so I have that in the back of my mind of knowing that I need to have an organization that is a successful organization and is well partnered in the industry, right? I mean, that goes without saying. But then identify ways, how do I allow this person to come in, plug in, and then enjoy success over a long-term period, right? And so mentorship is a key component of that. And it's also an expectation internally of, if you come and work for this organization, the expectation is you will become a professional. Now, we identify becoming a professional through education and through designations. And we are heavily partnered with the National Alliance. A couple of years ago, William Hold Jr. came out with a great concept that allows you to pay a monthly fee, and then you're able to access a number of learning tracks to where, based on what you want to achieve, what you want to learn, your job role, where you can go in and participate in these learning tracks and earn designations. The one that I'm really proud of is the intern that became a full-time employee. He was able to earn his CIC through this particular program with the National Alliance within a year. Now he's working on a CRM. To me, that defines helping someone achieve what their goals are with becoming a professional and enjoying success from a long-term perspective and becoming a significant contributor to the overall success of the organization, as defined by mentorship and professionalism that's in our impact, to where we've given them a platform of saying, hey, we want you to pursue all these things. We want you to be an invaluable resource, not only to our organization, but to our client experience as well, when they're talking to Patterson and Associates about insurance, but it's you that's answering their questions and making them feel comfortable that they have the right coverages. So when they tender that claim, it's going to be covered. And so all of those things go into just the resources and the things and the expectations that we have of, when you come to work for us, these are the things that we expect you to do as well. Now, it doesn't always play out that way across the board for all employees, but the ones that really rise and really make themselves impressive, it gets our attention as far as for annual reviews and something that's referenced, of just the pat on the back of, great job, you're doing exactly what we're asking you to do. That really is a big part of it, of how you develop yourself as a true professional in this industry. And then from a risk advisor standpoint, we tell them that not only do we expect you to do those things, not only do we expect you to go out and solicit and write new business, but we also want you to develop your reputation in the business community at large, because over time, we want you to become a known person within the business community as well. Most importantly, with not only with other business leaders, but with our carriers as well. Because when you do that and you're driving success as an individual inside the firm by doing all that, you also become a well-known person to those companies as well. Executives, managers, sales reps, underwriters, they all recognize that, and they see where you are really starting to differentiate yourself as well, to where you become a respected person in the business world and in the industry as well, which then should put you on a path of equity ownership in our office as well. And that's one of the things that we have identified is, hey, if you want an opportunity to be in an equity position in our organization, that is one of the key things that we expect you to do, is to be known in the community, because a partner in our organization should never have a carrier executive or underwriter say, yeah, I don't know that I know who that person is, whenever I give the list of who the other partners are in our organization.
Good point. Actually, it's interesting that you bring up a couple things there. One about carriers. I was just talking to an agency the other day that was frustrated with the fact that they were inviting their producers or their agents to carrier events and their social events, but they were blowing it off. And they said, we need to sit down and talk to them and explain to them it's about relationships. It's not about just we're going to go out to the ball field and have a good time. It's building a reputation, getting to know people, because we know that this is a relationship business. If you don't have it, you're never going to be able to negotiate through and influence what you have. A couple of other things I did want to comment on. If you're looking for people who are sort of interested in insurance, I would contact the National Alliance, because they do have some high school programs out there now. So there's high school kids doing, I think, CISR, if I'm correct about that. And then, of course, with our National Association, we have schools out there that are in the Invest program. And I know Tammy Land is very involved in that too. So there are other higher ed schools that are participating in insurance that would be a good way to hook in and try some of these mentorship programs out. Just curious, just because we're talking about the business community, I know some agencies are having quite a bit of success by finding people, let's say somebody who was in the contractor business, they were a contractor, and have flipped them over to now being a risk advisor, so to speak, in the contractor space, because they have the relationships, they're known in that industry, they've got experience behind them. Have you done that or seen any of those success stories? Because I've seen a few out there.
Not necessarily contractor, but we have hired out of other industry segments, and we are seeing success when they bring a sales background into insurance. And so they bring a very sophisticated sales process that they were taught and learned by a previous employer or employers in other industry segments that they then bring to insurance. And it's just a matter of learning the insurance product to then go back and be able to present well, which you teach that, right? The big thing you can't teach is how do you go and create the opportunities? You can only get someone so far from a resource standpoint, but the rest of it falls on the individual as far as being able to make those opportunities really happen and develop those opportunities. And so that's one of the areas of success that we've had, is hiring from other industries. And that comes through network and people that we meet along the way. And that's also one of the things that's been difficult with COVID, is we have lost that opportunity to have those face-to-face interactions where you can meet these people occasionally. But nonetheless, the business world doesn't allow excuses, right? So you just find other ways. And so that's what we've done, is we've just kind of called audibles over the last 18 months as far as finding areas where we can find these people. Yeah,
good. I was happy to hear you mention the referral program, because I think agencies that have that and use it well, you're getting people who you have a strong team, and if they bring people like them who believe the same things and have the same values, it can really make a difference in the caliber of people that you bring in. So I was happy to hear you mention that. kind of as we're getting near a wrap up here, but I did want to ask you a quick question about what you're hearing right now as far as expectations from employee candidates. Of course, the world, I think, has really shifted from what an employer's expecting from people to employees saying, well, I want remote work, I want these other alternatives, I want different types of benefits when I look at things. Can you talk a little bit about what you're seeing as far as that conversation and the recruiting side of things, what people are asking for that may look or feel a little bit different, and also to respond to that, maintaining and retaining your own team members during the process of these changes over the last 18 months?
Probably the biggest one that we've seen is more remote work opportunity. We don't necessarily have a complete work remote idea, I guess, but we certainly have gone to a hybrid where we have several employees that will work remote once or twice a week, and that allows them to, I guess, meet the other demands of life head on, while they're able to also get their job done and actually work more efficiently on those days where they're working remote as well. And so that's probably the biggest change that we've seen recently, is the expectation to have more opportunities to work remote. We have had a flex work schedule for a long time, and so that one isn't necessarily an expectation that I've seen a shift in. But you got that work-life balance word out, or phrase out there, and so you always want to, at least within reason as an employer, meet in the middle, if that's possible, where you're able to allow staff to enjoy a rewarding career and pursue the goals that they want, but also be available for the other demands that they have that are coming at them from their personal life standpoint as well. Because I joke around about me personally, here I am working, and as soon as I clock out, it's on to the next job, right? And so it's getting home to my kids and getting them to where they need to be and cooking dinner for them, or whatever list of demands that they have waiting on me whenever I get home. And so I understand that. So that probably is the most significant shift that I've seen through COVID.
Yeah, good. Well, I appreciate all of your thoughts and ideas on this. I hope it's helpful to folks. If you go to our website, we also have a site there that we talk about how to attract and recruit. So there's some steps in there that you can look at if you log in. And Ben, it's been really great meeting with you today and you sharing your ideas. I think there's a lot of resources out there. Being, really on social media, talking about your organization. I think it's key that we talk about culture and you don't just jump right into the nitty-gritty job, but really, what you're doing, why you're doing it, what's important to you as an organization, and a culture is really key to hiring the type of people that will fit your culture better as well. Before we get off, I just want to comment that on October 3rd and 4th, we will have our RISE Expo in San Marcos. There's going to be a lot of key topics in there. There'll be a trade show. We're also going to we're going to create a sort of a speed dating event called Quick Connect, so people can actually look at experts out there and get some one-on-one time if you want to pick somebody's brain. So hopefully we're going to have Ben be part of that. We've got to look at calendars still, but we've got all sorts of experts signed up to help with that event as well. So I hope folks will join us for that. And next Thursday, we also have a roundtable session that you can register for. We'll send you a link, but the way that works is agents can register and then we do a Zoom breakout room so people can share their ideas. And just like Ben's been able to share his ideas today, you can get together with your peers across the state and share other ideas as well. So hopefully that's another way for everyone to connect. Ben, I very much appreciate your time today. I love that I got to give you a little picture of your daughter and a little flashback in time.
Yeah, that was special.
Good. All right. Well, everybody have a great week. We'll see you next time around. And if you need anything from the association, just let us know. Tons of resources. So we're happy to help. Have a great day.
Thank you.